In the news, you've heard that there's a pack of giant asteroids headed for the United States, all scheduled to strike within the next 50 years. Now, I don't mean actual asteroids made of rock and metal. That actually wouldn't be such a problem, because if we were really all going to die, we would put aside our differences, we'd spend whatever it took, and we'd find a way to deflect them. I'm talking instead about threats that are headed our way, but they're wrapped in a special energy field that polarizes us and therefore paralyzes us. Last March, I went to the TED conference, and I saw Jim Hansen speak, the NASA scientist who first raised the alarm about global warming in the 1980s, and it seems that the predictions he made back then are coming true. This is where we're headed in terms of global temperature rises, and if we keep on going the way we're going, we get a 4 or 5 degree centigrade temperature rise by the end of the century. Hansen says we can expect about a 5-meter rise in sea levels. This is what a 5-meter rise in sea levels would look like. Low-lying cities all around the world will disappear within the lifetime of children born today. Hansen closed his talk by saying, imagine a giant asteroid on a collision course with Earth. That is the equivalent of what we face now. Yet we dither, taking no action to deflect the asteroid, even though the longer we wait, the more difficult and expensive it becomes. Of course, the left wants to take action, but the right denies that there's any problem. All right, so I go back from TED, and then the following week, I'm invited to a dinner party in Washington, D.C., where I know that I'll be meeting a number of conservative intellectuals, including Yuval Levin. And to prepare for the meeting, I read this article by Levin in National Affairs called Beyond the Welfare State. Levin writes that all over the world, nations are coming to terms with the fact that the social democratic welfare state is turning out to be untenable and unaffordable, dependent upon dubious economics and the demographic model of a bygone era. All right, now, this might not sound as scary as an asteroid, but look at these graphs that Levin showed. This graph shows the national debt as a percentage of America's GDP. And as you see, if you go all the way back to the founding, we borrowed a lot of money to fight the Revolutionary War. Wars are expensive, but then we pay it off, pay it off, pay it off, and then, oh, what's this? The Civil War, even more expensive. Borrow a lot of money, pay it off, pay it off, pay it off, get down to near zero, and bang, World War I. Once again, the same process repeats. Now then we get the Great Depression and World War II. We rise to an astronomical level, around 118% of GDP. Really unsustainable, really dangerous. But we pay it off, pay it off, pay it off, and then what's this? Why has it been rising since the 70s? It's partly due to tax cuts that were unfunded, but it's due primarily to the rise of entitlement spending, especially Medicare. We're approaching the levels of indebtedness we had at World War II, and the baby boomers haven't even retired yet. And when they do, this is what will happen. This is data from the Congressional Budget Office showing its most realistic forecast of what would happen if current situations and expectations and trends are extended. All right, now, what you might notice is that these two graphs are actually identical. Not in terms of the x and y axes or in terms of the data they present, but in terms of their moral and political implications, they say the same thing. Let me translate for you. We are doomed unless we start acting now. What's wrong with you people on the other side and the other party? Can't you see reality? If you won't help, then get the hell out of the way. We can deflect both of these asteroids. These problems are both technically solvable. Our problem and our tragedy is that in these hyper-partisan times, the mere fact that one side says, look, there's an asteroid, means that the other side's going to say, huh, what? No, I'm not even going to look up. No. To understand why this is happening to us and what we can do about it, we need to learn more about moral psychology. So I'm a social psychologist and I study morality, and one of the most important principles of morality is that morality binds and blinds. It binds us into teams that circle around sacred values, but thereby makes us go blind to objective reality. Think of it like this. Large-scale cooperation is extremely rare on this planet. There are only a few species that can do it. That's a beehive, that's a termite mound, a giant termite mound. And when you find this in other animals, it's always the same story. They're always all siblings who are children of a single queen, so they're all in the same boat. They rise or fall, they live or die as one. There's only one species on the planet that can do this without kinship, and that, of course, is us. This is a reconstruction of ancient Babylon, and this is Tenochtitlan. Now, how did we do this? How did we go from being hunter-gatherers 10,000 years ago to building these gigantic cities in just a few thousand years. It's miraculous. And part of the explanation is this ability to circle around sacred values. As you see, temples and gods play a big role in all ancient civilizations. This is an image of Muslims circling the Kaaba in Mecca. It's a sacred rock. And when people circle something together, they unite, they can trust each other, they become one. It's as though you're moving an electrical wire through a magnetic field and it generates current. When people circle together, they generate a current. We love to circle around things. We circle around flags, and then we can trust each other. We can fight as a team, as a unit. But even as morality binds people together into a unit, into a team, the circling blinds them. It causes them to distort reality. We begin separating everything into good versus evil. Now that process feels great. It feels really satisfying, but it is a gross distortion of reality. You can see the moral electromagnet operating in the U.S.